Crystal Tower information, Whiskey 2153 Zulu, wind 060 at 5.
076 Mike Juliet, this is departure radar contact.
Hazardous weather information from Minnesota available on flight service frequency.
You've dialed in the Flying Midwest podcast, connecting aviators from across America's heartland, sharing news, information, and events from around the region.
Calling Nancy 53 on over tower, roger, turn left heading 070, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Sit back, relax, and join our crew for some hangar talk as we discuss a wide variety of regional aviation topics.
Archer 71143, flying 5, runway 28 left, quick takeoff, left hand southbound.
And now, from our home at the Anoka County Blaine Airport, our checklist is complete, and we're ready for departure for another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Contact departure of your flight.
What is going on, everyone? Jim here with the Flying Midwest podcast. So happy you're able to join us. On this episode, we're joined by Joe Czech with the Minnesota Ace Camp. He talks to us about the great opportunities for teens to learn about aviation careers through their camps. And as always, news and events from around the region with some friendly hangar talk along the way. So strap in and let's take off into this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast. Welcome everyone to the Flying Midwest podcast. I am Jim.
Hi, Jim.
And who are you?
A friend.
And hello to Maddie.
Hello. Hey, Jim.
Yes, Maddie.
I've noticed a problem.
What's that?
Where's Trevor?
Good question. Trevor is away on assignment and will not be on this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast. I try to sound like all journalistic, like when the main host of the evening news is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Rathers is away on assignment. I'm Maddie.
Well, that's a darn shame. We miss him, but he'll be back next episode, right?
He's once again engaging in plenty of aviation activities, so he unfortunately won't be able to join us for this episode.
A worthy cause. I respect it.
So one of the exciting things that I want to talk about before we get into the news, it's kind of news. It's a big release of a new mobile application that I think every pilot is going to find a lot of great use out of. You can't even say anything without starting to laugh over there, Maddie. This is very serious news.
That's true.
Friend of the Flying Midwest podcast, Bryan Turner, and app developer Andrew Hughes, I believe it is, have developed the app Metar AF, which is based off of the website by the same name from Bryan Turner. It's weather with attitude. It gives you basically Metar for your local airport, or whatever airport you plug into there. It gives you where the wind is blowing from, how high the clouds are. It gives you temp in non-freedom units if you're okay with that, or Celsius is what people call it, I guess. It provides a squeezing force, which is right now at my airport is 2976, and the wet point, which is 1.0 non-freedom units or Celsius. But the biggest perk of this app, I think, is the pro pilot tips that it gives you. My pilot pro tip here is visibility 5 miles, so there'll be a lot of eyewitness reports, so that's good. So just for fun, we're going to enter Maddie's airport next. What's your airport, Maddie? Kilo.
Alpha Oscar.
You have a dew point of 14, which is also how many times you're going to bounce your landing.
Bryan, why are you going to call me out like that?
So if you would like to get some top-notch weather information for your local airport before your next flight with some really great pro tips and pro pointers, advice, if you will, before you go, check out Metar AF, which I don't believe is anything inappropriate. I think it could be aviation forecast or
I'm going to go with
Metar
aviation forecast.
Awesome flight, because that's what you're going to have after you check out this app. There you go. We've actually been having a lot of fun with this in the background in our group chat the last couple of days. As much as I'm trying to goof around, go check out Bryan's new app. It's really fun. And I, quite frankly, when I'm not on ForeFlight, if I just want to look at a Metar, that is absolutely where I'm going to go from now on. Metar AF. Check it out. How much do you think that was worth, that little plug, Maddie?
I'm going to say $40.16.
And 16 cents? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like that's a discounted rate because Trevor's not here. If it was all three of us, we'd probably have to charge him the full price. I don't know what that would be.
$52.76.
Bryan,
Obviously,
You can expect a bill in the mail, Brian. So we hope that you enjoyed our fake ad for your real, very real app.
I love it.
All right. Now that we got that out of the way, do we want to get into some real news?
Yes. So we will start here in Michigan, Kalamazoo. So Western Michigan University is preparing to take its College of Aviation to new heights. Quite literally. The WMU Board of Trustees has approved up to $20 million in a loan to purchase a new fleet of aircraft for the college. The dean of the college, Raymond Thompson, said the new fleet is needed to replace the school's current planes with the latest field technology at a time where the demand for pilots is soaring. So he says when they acquired their fleet of Cirrus aircraft, their university stood out for the type of training and the skills that their students were able to develop because of the quality of the planes and the level of technology that they were equipped with. He believes a new fleet would make the university one of the best aviation programs in the country. And he's not the only one who thinks that. Flying Magazine ranked the university as a second-tier program, which, while it sounds unimpressive, it is one of 4 in the country. The University of Oklahoma was the only aviation program to be named the top tier. So pretty important and pretty cool. Good for them. The $20 million loan is expected to help cover 32 new aircraft as well as a super decathlon for practicing specialized skills. So they're actually choosing to purchase the new aircraft outright rather than lease, which means they will be able to start building equity right away and ultimately save money, which is a win for everybody involved. So they're hoping the first round of these aircraft will be arriving on campus sometime next year. So unfortunately, the next article I have is not as cheery as the last one. The Wright brothers aircraft factory, the original, burned and is in an uncertain state as of last Sunday. As of Monday, the fire department in Dayton, Ohio, would continue to douse hotspots in the building. When firefighters initially arrived, they found heavy fire conditions throughout the large commercial building complex. So the historic site, this site is now in the National Historic Register and has been for a couple of years now. It, along with buildings around it, were burning. And unfortunately, because of lack of access to the building, it was difficult to put out a lot of the fires and assess a lot of the damage. So this is very unfortunate, very sad. So we're hoping that the damage isn't as extensive as they're seeing and that they will be able to rebuild and preserve this property. The fire department apparently worked very quickly and did their very best to minimize the damage and put out the fires as quickly as they could. Thankfully, no injuries were reported, and the Dayton Fire Department Fire Investigations Unit is investigating the cause of the fire. So a little bit of history about this. Wilbur and Orville Wright built their first experimental airplanes in the back of their bicycle shop on West 3rd Street. In 1909, they went on to form the Wright Company, which produced around 120 airplanes in 13 different models, and introduced industrial aviation. These buildings particularly were operated between 1910 and 1916, and they are considered the birthplace of the American aviation industry. Hopefully the city of Dayton will be able to partner with the National Aviation Heritage Alliance to kind of help preserve this building. All right, on to North Dakota. Wattsford City Municipal Airport was recognized as the 2022 General Aviation Airport of the Year by the North Dakota Aeronautics Commission. The airport attained this award for building a new runway and a parallel taxiway for it, installing new runway lighting, and instrument approach procedures. So these projects were started in 2020, and it involved a closing of the airport for 6 months. These projects were completed in 2021. They had to completely tear up their existing runway and install a completely new one, and that increased the length and weight capacity for the airport, which is awesome. The old runway was just over 4,000 feet, and the new one is just over 6,500 feet, and it is 75 feet wide. So these are just the most recent projects that the airport has undertaken. It seems in the last 10 years, they have been really trying to revamp this airport, and they actually started it before the oil boom. So they had a good thing going. They have improved their apron. They have doubled it in size, installed concrete, installed new tie downs. They installed 15 new hangars, which is actually a lot of hangars, and a new terminal building, which is awesome. In the last 5 to 6 years, flight instruction, rental aircraft, and fuel have all been made available on site. So this airport obviously does not offer commercial flights, but now they can way better accommodate charters, private planes, and especially company planes and air taxis. So as I mentioned before, the oil boom is bringing in a lot more aircraft. So they are now more well-equipped. Yeah, so congratulations to Watford City Municipal Airport.
Maddie, can I break in real quick?
Sure, what do you need, Jim?
Just a quick break on the news to bring some additional information to folks. Are you tired of your boring old aviation weather information in that old, antiquated formatting that no one really knows how to read anyways? Well, check out Metar AF, the latest from Just Plain Silly's Bryan Turner. This breathtaking app breaks down those complicated reports into an idiot-proof plain English format. It features easy-to-understand graphics, and using state-of-the-art algorithms, it not only provides you with the weather, but also additional information catered specifically to you and your personal flying abilities. For example, the one I just looked up says, "I promise the examiner is more nervous to be flying with you than you are to be flying with him." So check out Metar AF today. Back to the news.
All right, Jim, I have one more piece of news, but I figured I'm going to pull you in for this one.
Okay. I can read one more piece of news for you. And no, it's not Metar AF. It's a real story. On Saturday, April 1st, the Minnesota Aviation Hall of Fame honored 7 new inductees for the year 2023. Those inductees include Walter Frick, who is a combat helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and the founder air boss of Veterans Airlift Command. Walter, if I butchered your last name, I apologize. The next inductee is Robert D. Hodge. He's a World War II veteran, a game warden pilot, and had a career with the Minnesota DNR. Next up, well-known designated pilot examiner who was given check rides to the 2 people on this podcast tonight, Bart Back, who's also been a pilot in Minnesota since 1965. Followed by John J. Parker. He's a World War II combat veteran. He also had a career with the Minnesota DNR as a warden pilot. Next up, Randall Sohn, an Air Guard and airline pilot. He helped create the Southern Minnesota wing of the Confederate Air Force. And finally, Robert Whiplinger, Minnesota aviation businessman and manufacturer of whipline floats and creator of Fire Boss firefighting aircraft.
He's actually a big name.
So for those not familiar with the Minnesota Aviation Hall of Fame, it is a non-for-profit corporation in Minnesota, recognized by the state as a means of honoring its pioneers and historic aviation persons in a lasting and significant way. So congratulations to all of those inductees for 2023. And from us personally, congratulations, Barb. We're super excited for you.
Yay, Barb! Hey, Jim, it's getting to be that time, summertime, which means we can have some pancake breakfast and other events, right?
Pancake breakfasts and lots of other events.
Take it away.
Well, we have a number of events to tell you about. We're going to start off, though, by telling you about the Thunderbirds and Blue Angels schedule around the Midwest this summer. Starting with the United States Air Force Thunderbirds, you can catch them at the Quad City Air Show in Davenport, Iowa, June 24th and 25th. Your next chance to catch them in the Midwest in July will be the 1st and 2nd of July at the National Cherry Festival Air Show in Traverse City, Michigan, followed by July 22nd and 23rd at the Dayton Air Show in Dayton, Ohio, and July 29th and 30th at the Sioux Falls Air Show in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Your final chance to catch the Thunderbirds in the Midwest this summer will come on August 19th and 20th at the 2023 Chicago Air and Water Show in Chicago, Illinois. Up next are the Blues, the Blue Angels. As early as May 13th and 14th, you can catch them at Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. In June, you can catch them at the Columbus Air Show in Columbus, Ohio on June 17th and 18th. They'll have 2 stops in the Midwest in July. First at the Duluth Air and Aviation Expo, July 15th and 16th in Duluth, Minnesota, followed by July 22nd and 23rd at the Milwaukee Air and Water Show, not to be confused with the Chicago one. That is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You also have 2 chances in August to catch the Blue Angels. August 19th and 20th, they'll be at the KC Air Show in New Century, Kansas. And August 26th and 27th, they'll be at the Guardians of Freedom Air Show in Lincoln, Nebraska. And their final show in the Midwest this season will be October 28th and 29th at the Crossroads Air Show in Greenfield, Indiana. As for some other events you can check out in the Midwest in the coming months, we have the Ames Fly-In. That'll be Saturday, April 29th, 2023, from 7 a.m. until noon. They will feature an all-you-can-eat pancake breakfast. Nothing, Manny? No commentary about the pancakes? They'll also feature airplane rides, as well as some community events. All proceeds of that event will benefit the Ames Police Benefit Association and the Boys and Girls Club of Story County. Up next, Lyons, Kansas. They'll be hosting a fly-in at the Lyons-Rice County Municipal Airport, April 29th from noon until 4 p.m. This event, titled Ribs on the Runway, will have live music, a beer garden, and they will crown the Rib King and Queen of Rice County. Please make sure that you bring a designated pilot. So, go down and check out some of the best barbecue cooks in the area and enjoy a fun fly-in. If you want to participate in the rope cooking, it is $100 a team. Ribs will be provided. Up next, we briefed it a little bit with the Blue Angels, the Scott Air Force Base Air Show and STEM Expo. That will be May 13th and 14th, 2023. In addition to the Blue Angels, they will have demonstrations from Red Bull, the C-17 West Coast Demo Team, P-51 Heritage Flight, as well as many static displays and more. Check out more information on that at scott.af.mil/airshow. For those of you in Minnesota, the Great Minnesota Aviation Gathering returns May 19th and 20th at the Buffalo Municipal Airport. They will again feature a number of hangar flying sessions, including many educational topics and vendors with aviation-related products. More information on that event can be found on mnpilots.org/GMAG. Next up is the Salute to Veterans World War II Reenactments and Air Show. That will occur at the Elkhart Airport in Elkhart, Indiana, May 20th and 21st. Gates will open at 8 a.m. on the 20th and 9 a.m. on the 21st. The event boasts experiencing history like never before, including an air show. You can see vintage tanks in action, authentic weapons, and so much more. More information on that event is at salutetovets.org. And our final event, the Monet Regional Airport, will be hosting their fly-in on June 3rd at 8 a.m. At 8 until 10, you can get free breakfast, and they will have a runway ribbon cutting ceremony at 10 a.m. Presumably for a new runway? Question mark?
Maybe?
We'll talk more about that in a future episode when we have better answers. At any rate, you'll have an opportunity to see lots of airplanes, take some pictures, and there's a car cruise in as well. That will do it for our Link the Event section on this episode.
I'm ready to go get some ribs.
I'm kind of excited about that one. We're going to have to check that one out. I'm going to have to do some research to see what my schedule looks like, but I'm down for some ribs.
Well, thanks for all those fun events, Jim. I'm really excited for the ones local to me, especially the ribs really call out to me. But I think it is time for us to call on our guest.
I'd be happy to introduce our guest. So for those of you who aren't familiar, there is a program called the Minnesota ACE Camp, and that stands for Aviation Careers Education. It's hosted every summer in the Twin Cities metropolitan area, and it presents an opportunity for kids to come to this camp and check out all kinds of aviation careers, not just your pilots, your controllers, but also jobs that get done on airports, things like that. So we're happy to bring on Joe Czech. He is a controller at the MSP airport, as well as a member of the board of the Minnesota ACE Camp. So as you're listening to our interview with Joe, if this sounds like something interesting to you or a teen that you know who's in high school, application process is going to come real fast. So make sure you check out our show notes at the end of the episode and check out their webpage. They will close the application process on April 17th. So without further ado, let's chat with Joe. Well, Joe, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast. We're happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me here at 9 o'clock at night on a Wednesday night.
Well, thanks for coming. It's a little late.
Yeah, my wife is passed out sleeping upstairs, so it's just a raging party here.
Oh, yeah.
That's what people don't understand about how we record these. It's a blast. It's a party. Everyone's having a great time.
Exactly.
Joe recommended disco lights. We're going to look into that for the next episode. So,
oh, man. That's what we're missing.
We can Photoshop some in or whatever you guys want to do. We'll figure it out.
So, Joe, we talked a little bit before we started recording. You're familiar with our Fast 5 questions, right?
Yes. Won't go too fast, though.
Well, we'll see.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. Clear for blast off.
Clear for blast off. All right. Question number 1 for you, sir. Favorite airport?
Boy, favorite airport. Grand Forks. That was my first airport. I went to school at UND, Grand Forks. And that's where my first ATC job was, Grand Forks. Never thought I would go back there after graduating UND to work my first job. But it was Grand Forks. It was a great airport. UND, busy traffic. Honestly, up at Grand Forks, they're busier than we are here at Minneapolis MSP on most days, most VFR days of the week. It's just really cool. Just again seeing that progression of students, seeing them do their first solo, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would say that's my favorite airport.
Awesome. Favorite aviation content creator?
My Layover Life, Paul, Instagram. Yeah. So he does a lot of stuff at Ace Camp for us, and he made an awesome video for us. A very professional type video, but he does some great just airline type content. So yeah, he flies for United, does a lot of ace camp stuff with us, so I'll throw him the bone.
Yeah, I like his stuff too. So
I need to get on Instagram more.
you
The
do.
Graham. Yeah.
Yep, the gram. Question number 3: least favorite aviation film character.
Least favorite aviation film character. Wow, you really got me here. Would it be Snoop? Would it be Snoop Dogg in Soul Plane? Is that?
If that's
Yeah,
an
like
aviation
Snoop
movie,
Dogg.
I would,
Right? I mean, yeah, he had a captain suit on, right? The pilot, the whole get up. So I think it counts.
that's a great answer.
It's just came to my top of my head. It's late.
That's a terrible movie. So there's that.
Well,
Yeah.
you came up with
Yeah.
something really fast. I would have sat there
Yeah.
and been like, I
Yeah.
don't know any aviation
Sure.
movies, so
Yeah.
Question number 4. This is subjective. I guess they all are.
Yes. It's
Ugliest airplane.
ugliest
What kind of
airplane.
airplane is just it's just not appealing.
CRJ 200.
All right.
Right? I mean, what's special about it? You don't want to sit in it. People don't really fly. They want to move. They want to get out of the CRJ and fly a 757, my favorite airplane. So, I don't know. It just seems like it's, I don't know. It's just not needed. I mean, granted, Delta's getting rid of them all. So, there is that. So, yeah, CRJ 200, ugly. Just don't care for it.
All right. And your final Fast 5 question. If you could meet anyone in aviation, dead or alive, and have a conversation with them, who would it be?
Archie League, first air traffic controller. Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
he's basically the grandfather of ATC. Started at St. Louis, I believe, way back in the day, late 30s, early 40s. Basically, him and his wheelbarrow and a
Jeez.
couple flags. I think he had a checkered flag for go, meaning clear for takeoff, I assume, and then red for stop. Yeah, not clear, go around. I don't know, something like that. So yeah, I think it'd be cool to have a conversation with him. Seeing what his struggles were back in the day, I guess, and what he was dealing with compared to what we deal now with just the amount of traffic and the technology that we all have issues with. And I'm sure his mind would be blown if we told him that when the NOTAM system went down, the whole aviation system went down, right? Just, stuff like that, right? Like just talking about the CPDL, how we can send clearances basically via text message to the cockpit, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would blow his mind.
That's wild.
So I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for playing
Yeah.
along with our Fast 5 questions.
Did I win? Did I get the high score?
It's kind of, have you ever watched that show? What is it? Whose Line Is It Anyway? Where the rules are made up and the points don't matter. It's the same thing.
Oh yeah.
here.
Okay. Yeah. I got like 1,000. I got like 1,000,000 points, right?
You
Is that
got
what it is?
928 points, which is also happens to be what time it
Sweet.
is 928.
Perfect.
It's the first number that was right in front of me. So we will jump into the actual episode now. We're here to talk to you about Minnesota Ace Camp.
Yep.
But as we dive into that, can you tell us a little about your aviation background first?
Oh, yeah. My aviation background. So I was actually a student back in Ace Camp back in 1997. So Ace Camp, we've been around since 1991. So this will put us at 32 years this summer.
Wow.
So I started with Ace Camp. Dad took me to the airport all the time. He sat there and read the newspaper while I sat there and watched airplanes at the old Super America. They were in Post Road at MSP, which is no longer. But yeah, sat there and just loved watching airplanes go by, everything about airplanes. Ace Camp definitely kind of sealed the deal for me with all the tours that we did back then. Yeah, so after that, I actually, after graduating high school, I went to Century College here in White Bear Lake, Minnesota, as a wannabe law enforcement degree. So even though I loved aviation, I guess I got really scared right after high school and didn't want to go too far, didn't want to stray too far from home. Did law enforcement, the degree for about a year or so at Century. Then I had one of those moments, what the hell am I doing? I need to change it, and I need to do aviation. Looked into air traffic control schools. At the time, there was 13 different schools in the country, and I picked the furthest one from Minnesota, which was Daniel Webster College, which is no longer. That was in Nashua, New Hampshire. So I went out there, went there for a year, just a 1 year, just a quick kind of get my feet wet with air traffic control. Actually got my private pilot's license out there since the ATC program really wasn't going too fast for me at the time. Went out there for the year, got my private, and it was like, you know what, I need to come back closer to home. And it was really expensive out there at Daniel Webster. It was like $25,000 a year. It was insane for air traffic. I mean, even back then, I mean, kind of dated myself now, but then I finished up at UND for air traffic control there. I graduated in 2005 and waited about a year or so to get the actual call from the government, from the FAA, to be a controller. And that's when they told me I'm going back to Grand Forks as a controller. So that's kind of my little aviation history background in a nutshell.
So the question I have, I understand how the military does it. They have you fill out a dream sheet, which is exactly that. It's a dream if you think you're going to any of those places. Is that how the FAA work too?
Which will send you halfway across the country from the first place you pick.
Like, right? I want to go to Florida. You're going to Grand Forks.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it like that?
Yep. So when I went through, I was pretty lucky where at the time we got to select certain states where we wanted to go. I really love the tower environment, so I picked states that did not have like a center, down in Farmington, Minneapolis Center. So I picked North Dakota, South Dakota. I mean, I did pick Minnesota, Iowa. I just really wanted to work in a control tower. Then after I submitted that, I found out a few weeks later that the Grand Forks had an opening. So yeah, I got slated for that. It's changed now where students that go through ATC, they do not know where they're going to go until the day they graduate the FAA Academy down in Oklahoma City.
Huh.
So if you finish first in your class of 20, you get first picks on a pre-selected list of airports that, again, where the FAA, where they need you. So it's wide open, right? You can generally it's smaller airports, level 6, level 7 type towers, which is, the Flying Clouds, the Rochesters, the Duluths of the world. Basically, you can start there. But if you finish last in the class down at OKC, you get the very last pick, which is great that you pass, right? You're going to be a controller. But again, you get the very last pick. And that might be Gary, Indiana. That might be Guam. That might be Fairbanks, Alaska.
Oh, gosh.
So if you have any resemblance of a family, right, you have to... You got to go. So basically, you graduate and you have 1 week to get to that facility.
Oh wow!
So
that
So again, it's so wild. It's changed so much. So
that's crazy.
It is really wild. So you put your time in there. Whether generally it takes at a tower generally about a year, 2 years to get certified. Then you can start bidding out to other facilities. So. But again, that's not guaranteed. You might, if they're really short staffed, you might be sitting there for 5, 6, 7 years before you can transfer. So, I got really lucky at Grand Forks. I was there for 3 years. We were pretty well staffed, and off to Minneapolis I went. So it was an easy transition for me. Again, being up in Grand Forks, college town, being younger is definitely fun. Reliving the college days again as in my first kind of big boy job, right? and then transferring down here to Minneapolis, where all the family's at.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's talk a lot about Minnesota Ace Camp.
Yeah.
So for those that aren't familiar with what this program is, can you give us an overview of that?
Yeah. So again, So we started back in 1991. Basically, anything aviation related, we do here in the cities. This is for high school age students looking for a career in aviation. Do we get a lot of pilots? Yes, right. We do a lot of flights in single engine aircraft, helicopters, glider airplanes. We go down to Stanton and down to the soaring club down there.
Oh.
So the kids literally get in their own glider with an instructor. They're sitting in the front seat, and they're 3,000-4,000 feet. They are pulling the ripcord from the tow airplane, and they're gliding, right?
Nice.
Again, we do. They get to go to Endeavor's flight simulator here in Minneapolis and do a full motion CRJ simulator. And again, this is all with instructors. They can actually log this time. Do we focus a lot on the pilots? Yes, but also we definitely we want to focus on other aviation careers too. Aviation mechanic, air traffic control. Drones are the next big thing, right? So we have someone come and talk about drones. We even do the flight attendant training at Endeavor. So again, you name any type of aviation career, we definitely try to cover in the week at ACE Camp.
Now, is the program primarily focused around the camp itself, or are there other things that you guys do?
Yeah. So during the week, there's 40 or 50 different tours or things that we do. So again, we definitely rely on a lot of our partners, Delta, Endeavor. We even take the kids to iFly, the indoor skydiving that's out in St. Louis Park, on the west side there. And the kids got to know about aerodynamics, right? They got to learn if they can fly or not, really. I'm pretty bad at it. My body's not suited for aerodynamic anything, so I generally stay away from that. So I have a lot of parasite drag. Is that a thing, right? Parasite drag, I don't know, something like that. But, so yeah, we definitely focus on a lot of again, a lot of our partners with Delta and a lot of other things that we do with them. But again, we try to do our own content too. Again, we have a lot of our time with our own counselors and staff members, again, giving these career talks, what the next best thing for them to do in their own career.
So is it just the week during the summer then, or are there other things they can get involved in during the year?
So three camps. We're doing 3 camps this year, 30 students per camp.
Okay.
So again, maybe I discussed this earlier. So a week-long overnight camp. The kids stay overnight. We put them up in the dorms, and it's literally 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. Again, just filled with programming all throughout the day. Yeah, so it's definitely a full on adventure, trying to keep 30 teenagers alive for the week during the summer. So yeah,
we wear them out as time goes on, right?
Yes, we wear ourselves out. So there is a lot of naps on the bus that happen. So, but yes, for a student to try to do what we do in a week, it's just not possible, right? So what we charge for tuition is $1,600 for the week. It's not cheap, right? It's anything in aviation is not cheap, and we're definitely conscious of that. We do have a lot of financial aid available for students to apply, and we love to give the money away. So we have a very large pot of that. So it's again, we want to lower our costs, but after COVID, our costs have gone up. Our school bus alone is 3 times the cost what it was before COVID. Our lodging is 3 times the cost. So it's so a lot of the stuff we hate to pass along, but it's just we don't really have any other choice.
I think everybody's feeling those effects.
Yeah, but we still get a lot of demand. Like the kids definitely see the value in our camp for the things that we do. Again, my favorite part is taking our bus out on the taxiways and the runways of Minneapolis. We literally get to go out on runway 422. Everybody gets out, and we're basically at the intersection of 422 and 12 right, and we're watching airplanes there.
Awesome.
So,
that is so cool.
Right? Just that experience there alone. So MAC, the airport authority, they're very kind to us. Again, we've been doing stuff with them for years, and they escort us out there with their vehicle, and again, we're out there for like a half hour just watching airplanes. So, yeah, so it's just sweet, right? That kind of stuff is awesome.
Yeah, where else can you get an opportunity to do something like that?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what we try to focus on. Again, I got the schedule pulled up right here, and it's just I look at it like just the stuff that we do is just amazing. Like one of the cool things, we do a lot of the stuff out of South St. Paul Airport. We have Mankato. They fly up there. They fly up about 4 airplanes for us. They're warriors, and each kid gets about 20 or 30 minutes with an instructor flying around. But also when we're there, we have a very generous a donor that lets us fly, or he has their people fly a Cessna Caravan on floats. So we take off out of South St. Paul and we go land in the St. Croix River.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, my first time was last year doing that, and what a blast, right? You see these pictures, right? What a life, right? Having a Grand Caravan, but then on floats, right, and be able to freaking just land anywhere you want. But that was us, right? The kids got to experience that, right? And so yeah, it was stuff like that. It's just really sweet.
Oh,
You want to
That's so
join?
exciting.
You want to come to camp?
Don't tempt me.
Now he's gonna have to move back from Kansas.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No,
Well, one of the things we have been discussing, something that's been on our radar for quite a while, is doing like an adult type camp, right? I mean, granted, we probably wouldn't do it for but there you go. See,
yeah.
we wouldn't do it for a week because we definitely value our sleep and stuff, but we maybe do like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday type thing, or Friday, Saturday. Just doing the big things. Maybe taking the bus out out at NSP, going over to Endeavor, flying a CRJ sim, going to Sun Country, flying their sims, stuff like that. So just keep it pretty simple, and maybe trying to use it as a fundraiser for us to just get a little money coming in and use that money for for a student's tuition. So that's definitely still something on our radar. Again, the kids come first. We're trying to do the 3 camps this year. So again, 30 kids a camp that we're looking at. So that puts us at 90 kids for the whole summer. So it's definitely a full summer for us planning and doing all the stuff that we want to do with them and again show them what ACE Camp is all about.
So you were a student back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. So how has the program and the camp itself grown since you participated as a student?
Yes, it's definitely grown by leaps and bounds since I was in. When we first started, ACE Camp was partnership with the FAA and MnDOT, the Minnesota Transportation, the Aeronautics Division. So we got a lot of our funding through them, and that was kind of the status quo for quite a number of years. Then COVID happened, and it shut us down in 2020, obviously. So we had no camps in 2020. Just reference the rules and all the stuff that was going around then. But then we used that time to really refocus, and we actually made ACE Camp our own nonprofit organization. So, which allows us to do fundraising, get money that comes in, apply for grants and other scholarship type money that we can pass on to our students. So, COVID sucked, right? COVID sucked for everybody, but it really allowed us at ACE Camp to really restructure and really have a really good foundation of where we want to go, put stuff in writing. Because before COVID, we were kind of just, handshake deals, nothing really written in stone, kind of literally flying by the seat of our pants every year. But now we definitely have a really good structure to what we're doing. I'm not, even though I'm on the board, I sat through a lot of the meetings. I'm not the brains of the operation. Katrina Middlestat, United Pilot, she's definitely headed up a lot of the stuff. Anthony, he's done a lot of stuff for us. He's a pilot for FedEx. So again, we have a lot of staff members that put a lot of time and effort to basically make what we are today a lot stronger, and definitely having some legs to stand on and be able to pass a torch to whoever. I'm not going to do this forever, right? So. Be able to pass a torch to whoever's going to come behind me.
That begs an interesting question to me. How many staff does it take for you guys to pull this off each of these weeks?
Yeah, so we'll have about 5 or 6 counselors for the week. So each counselor will be, with about 5 kids. So again, we'll kind of split off into groups, about 5 or 6 counselors, and we'll have 2 directors and 2 directors that will kind of always, stay one step ahead with the planning and getting meals, all that stuff situated. But then we have day volunteers who will come in to help set up tables for us if we need to do ground school somewhere, or, any type of thing that comes up during camping. We'll probably have at least 3 or 4 other people ready to come in at any second and help us out. So, about 6 or 8 during the week, actually with the kids at all times. And then again, about 4 or 5 other volunteers that come along for the ride during the week. And also we have like guests. We call it mentors for the day. So it's really hard right in the middle center here in Minnesota, where we value our summers, and we're very busy going up north or whatever we're doing, to get someone to take a whole week off and do ACE Camp, right?
Right.
It's really hard for me to take time off of work because I have my own priorities as far as vacations and other things I want to do with my wife. But again, trying to get that whole week off it's a really tall ask for anyone to take, take a full week off and again, keep 30 kids alive for the week. So it's crazy. Once you do it, once you do camp, we definitely get the same. We always get the same repeat and volunteers. I want to keep doing it because they definitely see the value in it, and just being a part of that progression of the week is awesome. Again, just watching the students progress from it's so funny. The very first day of camp, everyone kind of in their own little corner, right? Don't want to talk to anybody. But by the last day of camp, they don't want to leave each other, right?
Yeah.
So just watching that, right? And there's students that come from a whole different various backgrounds of aviation. Some kids have no clue; they don't know what they want to do, which is fine. Like we want those students to come to our camp, but also there's the other spectrum of aviation students where they know the difference between an A319 and an A320, right? They can just that's an A319, right? Just by looking up. Their knowledge of aviation now is absolutely amazing.
I actually am aware of a success story out of your camp of one of your students from last year who is now working on her private pilot certificate. She's about to do her solo cross country, and a lot of it was based on going through that camp and getting that experience and going, yep, this is the direction I'm going to go.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just, having that spark, doing that, having that spark for the kids and, having the resources. Again, aviation is networking, right? Half the battle is networking in aviation. And that's what we definitely try to strive for. And students that will come back to me, years later and, hey, I need a letter recommendation or anything along those lines, right? And, having camp, seeing those students really push them over the edge, to do that next step, whatever that may be. And it's just amazing how many are students that go on to, be pilots or controllers or whatever you have. Even the students that don't do aviation afterwards, they still do the testimonials and say it was the best week of their life. Right. Yeah. So it's, just seeing those stories is really cool.
So aside from the networking aspect and the kind of the exposure aspect, what are some of the biggest benefits that you've seen over the years for these students from camp?
The latest one back this past year, it was our first time, again, doing, now that we're an official nonprofit organization, we started the Elevate Award, which is our own continuing education scholarship fund, basically. Whereas before, again, all we did was just focus on camp, and that's all we did, which was great. And we did a really good job at it, still doing a good job at it. But now we're able to, with the money that we've raised through grants and other fundraising efforts, we're able to give that money out now to students, to anyone else that is in aviation. Basically, we name the Elevate Award, whatever you want. Everyone has their own path in aviation, right? It's really hard to follow everyone. Everyone has their own path, and so we wanted to have money available for people to go do that. Whether they want to pursue their CFI license, whether they want to just go to a trade show, right? We wanted to give money out for that, and I think that was a big first step for us within this past year, being able to give back, give back some of the money to very deserving people. We gave them $15,000 this past year. So really cool seeing some of the stories of what some of these students, past students, volunteers, and even someone that's never been to ACE Camp apply and what they wanted to use their money for. So yeah, I think that was a really cool thing for us to do this past year by having this continuing education scholarship, and definitely something that we want to do again.
That's incredible. I'm sure that's blessed.
Yeah.
Everybody who's part of that. Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, some really cool stories that we came across.
I wish I had known about ACE Camp when I was in school. I barely knew what a plane was when I was in high school, because my school was like mathematics, science, humanities, done. There are no other jobs.
Wow. And it's amazing now. Like, I'll do a lot of outreach for high schools, and I think there's only like maybe 3 or 4 schools here in Minnesota that have an actual aviation class. It's very rare, right? And the places that do have it, they're very involved. They have flight simulators. They go through like a ground school type setting of getting these kids kind of focused on aviation, and it's just really cool to see. But it's very rare.
So for people who are listening that might be interested in this, what kind of things can they expect this year? Like what kind of big draws might there be? Things like that.
The big draws, I mean, I like to say it's the indoor scout event's kind of a cool thing, but also something that we do is I think this year we go to the Air Force Reserve Base and the kids get to fly a C-130 simulator.
Ooh.
So that's on tap for this year. Granted, I mean, a lot of our stuff is pretty much the same every year. We don't try to change it too much, but the one thing that we really want to do, which we try to do, but we're kind of on the whim of the schedules, is either the reserve or the guard will take us up in a C-130.
Okay.
Fly out of Minneapolis, go up to Duluth. They'll drop it down to like 1,000 feet. Open up the back door, the back cargo door. That's when we, send out all the bad students. We kick them out.
Pushing them out.
One in there. Yeah, exactly. But no, we're all strapped in the back, right? And they open up the back door, go over the lift bridge, Split Rock, go over, the shoreline of northern Minnesota. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a blast. So
we're
really
cool.
crossing our fingers we can do that again this year. Maybe I'll toot my own horn up and be able to come to the tower again. So last year, the kids, because of COVID and some of the rules that we still had at the tower, they couldn't do tours of air traffic. So this year's changed. So looking forward to having the kids getting their chance of coming in and seeing our eye work up in the control tower. But also they get a chance to, we actually have our own tower simulator at the tower where they get to basically try their hand of air traffic control. So it's basically a 270-degree tower type setting. There's, very large LCD screens, and it's all computer-generated traffic. They get the, voice recognition, all that type of stuff. They can basically be an air traffic controller at Minneapolis. The same type visuals that we look out at Minneapolis, we have in the sim. So
wow,
that is so cool.
They get to try they get to have their hand at the high score in the simulator.
It never occurred to me that you guys have simulators too. I don't know how air, I know how air traffic control works, but it's
technology.
Yeah. I just you were born with it or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's so
cool.
But
it's relatively new within the past few years.
Okay.
But again, if I'd love to have you guys come up to the control tower sometime. I'll show you the sim, and it's very realistic. So, just being able to have the students go in there, and again, it's one thing for me to talk about air traffic control in front of a classroom for 30 minutes. Kind of boring. I'll tell some fun stories, but for them to actually do it themselves rather than talking to live traffic, right? So
you don't let them talk to live traffic. Got it.
Unless I want to retire or get fired on that very day, but
some disclaimers have to go out there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
For people who are interested, potential students, what kind of things do they need to know about applying and qualifying for the camp?
Yeah, I mean, we keep it fairly simple. Basically, any high school age student is eligible to apply. If a freshman wants to apply, like eighth grader going to be a freshman, they're still welcome to apply. Generally, we give preference to the juniors and the seniors, right? Because it's going to be their last years to apply.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't discourage on freshmen applying. If we have room, great, right? Again, generally, we like to focus on the juniors and seniors just because it's our last chance to capture them before they ship off to wherever they're going to go, their next step in their careers. So that's kind of the age group that we focus on. Again, we have three different camps. They're all the same. We do all the same stuff during the three camps. Nothing's changed. So that's kind of the basic overview. I guess what we're looking for. The application's pretty straightforward. We are looking for a little skin in the game as far as we're looking for an essay from each student. Again, why they want to come to camp, right? Like, just clicks a few buttons and send us some money. We want to know why they want to be at camp, right? So. We do actually grade each student's application, and we give points out for their essays and their letter of recommendations that they need to get from someone else. And again, that's just to have some skin in the game for them, and it gives us a good idea of the students that are applying, and again the reasons why they want to come to camp.
Thanks, a great way to do it.
Yeah, yep. And as far as financial aid too, during the application process, it's really easy. Nothing detailed, just a quick couple questions. How much money are you requesting? Whether that'd be the full $1,600, or just maybe you need a couple $100 help, right? So, just a quick little thing about why you need the financial aid, and it's really easy. So, and again, I don't want students or parents to get scared of the price tag, $1,600. Again, we have a lot of money to give out, and we definitely want to give out to deserving families.
What is the most rewarding part of ACE Camp for you? And do you maybe have a story that you cherish or hold dear about or from camp?
Just surviving the week is a pretty big accomplishment. I mean, the other volunteers and the counselors, they know like after the week, like I'm done, right? Like I'm just done. I just want to go home and just sit in my room for like 3 days and just catch up on sleep and everything else, right? But just making it through a week is rewarding, right? Just to see everything that we do and like, holy crap! Like again, we kept 30 kids alive. Doing all the things that we do is just it's really a cool thing, right? Where when it comes to the very last day on Friday, we're like, oh my God, am I going to survive? Like, we're running on 4 hours of sleep for the entire week, and it definitely pushes us to the limits. But again, being at graduation, seeing the families, and watching the students kind of say bye to each other for the last time at that event is really cool. So yeah, that's probably the biggest takeaway for me is, just seeing that type of stuff during the week. So yeah,
it means a lot to those kids.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. That's
the thing, like after camping, we'll get the students like just right after graduation. Hey, can I volunteer? Right? Can I be a part of ACE Camp? Right? They see the value in it. I mean, granted, some of it is they just want to relive all the experiences again, which is fine, right? I mean, they just want to do it all over again, right? So generally, we like to wait a couple years after camp to have some of the kids come out, just come off that high a little bit, right? And again, we want to have our counselors, just be that mentor for these students, and not just walk through camp and just enjoy all the events and the tours again, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
That does beg an interesting question, though. Say that you've got someone who does want to volunteer. How can they get involved in ACE Camp?
We have a link on our website, so they can head there. We basically just have all the information all in one spot. Whether you're a past ACE Camp student and you just want to maybe help out for a day, local flight instructor, to come in and experience it. I mean, we're looking for everything, right? So with the 3 camps, I mean that puts us at we need close to 20 or 30 volunteers or counselors for the summer. So some years are harder than others trying to get the counselors in, but again, we have a lot of the returning same type counselors that want to come back and do it all over again. But it's also good to to have a backup list and for people that want to come in and experience ACE Camp for themselves. So again, a lot of the volunteers are previous students, but again, I definitely urge anyone in the aviation industry that wants to help out here in the cities. Anywhere, if you want to come in and take a week off and experience camp, it's really a cool experience. And again, just head to our website. We have a volunteer webpage, and just throw all your information on there so we can have it at one spot, and we can go from there.
Very good. Is there anything else that you would like to cover about the program, about the camp that we haven't discussed yet?
Make sure you apply before April 17th. April 17th is our deadline. So that puts us just about over 3 weeks away from the deadline. So trying to fill the camps as best we can. And it's a blast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. We put a lot of our videos, our camp videos on there. Our website has everything on there. Again, we want to be a resource for students, even before they get to camp, but also after camp too. They can find things of different careers they want to get into. And again, if they want to, for example, we had a student a few years ago that wanted to get into ag spraying, agriculture spraying. A very rare career to get into, but she really wanted to do it, right? Using the network of all of our volunteers, we found someone for her to connect with, right? And, that's the whole goal of this, is be able to find that network thing, that whatever you want to get into, we can find that person. We can try to, create that path the best we can. And again, everyone has their own aviation career path, and we want to definitely set these students on the right foot after camp.
So the other question I have related to deadlines and stuff like that, what weeks is the camp this year? Just for people's knowledge.
Oh, you had to put me on the spot. This should have been in the top 5.
Oh, it should have, yeah. What is your camp?
Yeah. So we do two camps in June. So I believe it's the third and fourth week in June, and then 1 week in July. I believe it's the second week in July. So we go back to back in June with the camps, and then we take like 2 weeks off and do the July camp. So
okay.
So yes, I'm pretty sure it's the third and fourth week in June, and then again that second week in July. Yes, it's an absolute blast. I got the dates here. I finally pulled it up. June 11th through the 16th, June 18th through the 23rd, and then July 9th through the 14th. So those are the three weeks.
Very good.
All right, I think it's time for the most uncomfortable question of the podcast.
Uh-oh.
I feel like most people are like excited about this question.
Some are, some aren't. We're going to see where Joe lands on that spectrum.
Clear the lamp. Clear for the option.
Clear for the option. Go around.
Yeah, go
around. Definitely a go around.
All right, Joe. So, the big question of the night, what is your unpopular aviation opinion?
I was kind of thinking about this earlier. Maddie, you being a CFI, sending your student out on their first solo, right? The nerves the students get, right, on their first solo. Nerves of all, certain types. I mean, granted, it's their first time flying alone. So working at Minneapolis, generally it's all commercial type, commercial aviation traffic, airline type traffic. How the two relay reference CFI and someone doing their first solo with a lot of flow now. That there's a lot of pilots that are getting sucked up from the regionals to the majors now. So the regionals, you've heard all the stories how the regionals they're really hard to staff, right? There's not enough pilots, staffing shortages, you name it. So there's a lot of younger pilots that are flying out there now. I almost want to say my unpopular opinion is these pilots are under a lot of pressure, meaning that I would take a first solo student over a first time like CRJ pilot. That's just my unpopular opinion. The readbacks that we get from them are hard. Sometimes they don't listen to us. Now, granted, I'm sure that happens to her as a first solo student as well. But you think about it as someone that finally made it to the to the airlines, their first region, their first big boy job, right? Maybe they have a family. There's a lot of stuff riding on them compared to that first solo flight, right? Where that's more just fun and excitement, right? And that's kind of my convoluted type unpopular opinion. I'd rather take a first solo student at Grand Forks than a CRJ, a first time CRJ pilot at Minneapolis, if that makes sense.
Yes. Hearing some, I'm out of Colonel James Jabara Airport in Wichita, so it's like we're like a few miles from Eisenhower.
Sure.
Some of the calls I hear these guys make, I'm like,
yeah.
man,
yes.
I'm not knocking anybody, but my guy,
are.
I am. You're flying a jet, and it sounds like you're in preschool.
Oh, yes.
I need my students to talk more professionally than you.
I agree.
You're the professional pilot.
They made it. They've passed some sort of test to make it over there. So great, awesome. But sometimes I'm like, it's crazy. Sometimes what is heard on the frequency. It's very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm surprised I haven't had to give any progressive taxi instructions at Minneapolis, but sometimes I feel like I have to.
It's coming.
So I really want to get out the light gun myself and start shooting some of these pilots.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yes, I'd have to dust it off and replace the battery since we never use it, but I do want to use it occasionally.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast. You're passionate about the ACE camp, and it shows.
Yes.
And we really appreciate you sharing that with us so that we can pass that along to others and hopefully get some people into your camp this summer.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Jim. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Maddie, same to you. Thanks for having me on. This has been great. Again, Ace Camp's it's a really cool experience. And again, any questions that anyone has, send them my way. I'm on the gram. Go around 29 is my handle. So, or again, just find, or just go find our Ace Camp page. So that'll be a lot easier. So.
Thank you so much for coming on, Joe. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this has been awesome. Really cool, guys. I really appreciate the time and you guys doing this and everything else you guys do for the aviation community. That's awesome.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Joe.
Jim, I want to go to Minnesota Ace Camp.
I do too. It sounds like a lot of fun, and I really appreciate Joe coming on and telling us all about that. I hope that some listeners to the podcast can check that camp out and take advantage of that opportunity.
And if you ever hear Joe on the radio at Minneapolis St. Paul, be sure to give him a hi from us. Actually, don't do that. That's probably illegal.
Or at least a good old-fashioned, shut up. We're not done. Don't turn it off.
Hey, Jim, what's on the docket for the next episode?
On our next episode, we welcome back Kyle Lewis from AOPA. If you remember from our last episode with him, he is the Great Lakes Regional Manager. In the next episode, he'll talk to us a little bit about himself and how he got involved with AOPA. And as we wrap up here, if you like what we're doing with the Flying Midwest podcast, go ahead and leave us a rating or review wherever you get your podcast services. Or if you want to reach out to us with any questions or ideas for future episodes, you can reach out to us on any of our social medias or at flyingmidwestpodcast@gmail.com. Hey, Maddie, don't we have one more thing to cover?
And before we go, we want to give a huge thank you to our very unofficial and totally not approved sponsor, Metar AF. If you haven't heard of Metar AF, it's the latest must-have aviation app. Move over for flight. Metar AF is the new guy in town, providing you with the most up-to-date weather information and helpful flying tips. But don't take it from me. Here's real-life Metar AF user Jim.
Just today, I checked out an airport, and I was trying to figure out if it'd be a good day for me to fly. And it told me that flight category at my airport is VFR, and it's a perfect day to turn my power on stalls into spins. Thanks, Metar AF.
Thanks, Jim. So, go download Metar AF today, available on Android and Apple devices, or else we will do this again next episode too.
No, seriously, this is a real app. We're not making this up. Go support our friend Bryan Turner. It's a really funny app, and we hope that
fake ads, real app.
We hope that you enjoy that app as much as we have. So until next time.
Zip.
Flight 536, contact Minneapolis Center 132.35 today.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Flying Midwest podcast. Until next time, podcast service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. Good day.
My name is Maddie. I am the number 2 of 3.
You're the number 2, like you're the shit. Good night, everybody. Have developed the app. Let's see here.
Good try.
So check out Metar. It was going so good. They will be at the air show. I made that up.
I was making it up as I went, and it all came out of my face, but it didn't sound natural. I lost it.
Okay, you were a guest.
I know. And I was like,
clip
I was gonna
this part out, and then whatever you say after this is what I'll put in next. However, this part where I'm explaining how I'm going to do that is all blooper content. I'd be happy to talk about our best. That's not what I was trying to say.
Good grief.
Sleep is optional.
Yep.
For podcasting. If you don't mind editing 17 hours of raw content. Yeah, that's a future Jim problem. That's not a right now Jim problem. So tomorrow Jim's going to be so pissed. then like the red light fever starts, and that's when we start stumbling on words and making really great blooper content. So,
Well, hopefully I won't be a part of that then.
well, we will. So for any parents or teens that are actually listening, I'm so high on our podcast and our potential.
Yeah.
Takes my brain a lot to process, clearly.
Okay, wake me up when it's time for me to talk again. On our next episode, we are going to talk awkwardly paused out as I try to think of what I'm going to say.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Move over for flight. This is the new I shouldn't improv.
No, go back. I'm going to leave that in there. Move over floor flight.
Can I move over floor flight?
And then what? What are they going to do?
Takes my brain a lot to process, clearly. Takes my brain a lot to process, clearly.